Hayi ke khensa mina yaza mfana kuyawuchaya.
La margiyana uringodlala mina.
Mina ngodlala mina yaza ke dlale.
Okay, it's good.
Okay, sharp.
It's good.
Ake lahla 50 sharp.
Like rent, it's good.
Okay, no. Lata mfana ke to bontsha re kolwati. Ah, yes.
Crap.
The scene starts with a roll of the dice, and the usual interpretation of this is the usual interpretation of dice in any context. Namely, everything left is a gamble, nothing in left I can handle. It is an interpretation that's very accurate in the case of this movie though, where so much that happens in it gets surrendered to chance, which is responsible for both the tragic moments in the movie and also some of the most beautiful ones. The most important such occurrence being the hijacking that accidentally turns into a kidnapping, which accidentally turns into a path towards redemption. All of it stretching out before us on the tape of time via the momentum of dancing, dice, and chance. Then we get to the butcher's knife. It's not currently a steady knife, if you will notice. He's tapping it impatiently like he can't wait. He's just itching to put it to work. And his ornamented hand gives you the sense that he won't possess the conscientiousness of your typical surgeon whenever he finds employment for that blade. But when, and it most definitely is when, he does find a scarlet exercise for that knife, his hand will at least be steady, finally, like a surgeon. Which is bad news because that metaphor sort of ends where the patient ends and the victim begins. And then, of course, you get a beautiful shot of South Africa's abusive lover, the Joker to our Harley Quinn, the magnificent Ngot. All pashash and nga, and easily the most polished and sparkling thing in that room. And it's probably the most valuable thing in that room as well, standing in the place of Grandma's jewelry box, because Grandma didn't leave you a jewelry box, because Grandma didn't have a lot of jewelry. Grandma left you Ngut, because that's what Grandma leaves you in the township. That and the Bible. So choose wisely, or if you're a certain kind of preacher, you don't have to choose between the two at all. Open a church for drunk people. I'm telling you, it's going to be kind of a hit. This is all before the camera cuts to a broader view of the room and we see everyone in attendance. You have the two gamblers over on one side of the room. You have someone in the opposite side reading a newspaper, which, by the way, is a visual shorthand to communicate who here happens to possess the brains of the outfit. Then there's that fellow over there, standing by the window. The one whose back is turned to the rest of the crew, with his face pointing outside. Now, usually, we humans with sight tend to gravitate towards where we are aiming our sight. You remember this if you've been to driving school at any point in the past few months. And this man is aiming for the horizon. He is already symbolically orienting himself towards a new day, a fresh start. This is foreshadowing by use of light. Very novel, I think.
11.
The knife guy is bad at math. Big surprise. Actually, this is, rather ironically, a very unsurprising and stereotypical handling of a character like this, especially for a story so invested ultimately in challenging the conventional narrative of the gangster or the criminal in this violence-ridden condition of South Africa, or Johannesburg specifically. Especially?
9.
What?
45. 9. That's 11.
Again, in case you did not catch it the first time, newspaper guy is the guy with the brains here. And now we officially meet the sheep or the parrot of the group. He usually just goes along with or repeats what somebody else says. And we can see this play out when he pulls a face at the idea that 4 and 5 equal 11. But he doesn't come out and say it. Only when Smart Guy swoops in with the answer does he have the confidence to stand behind his original suspicion. And only now, seemingly because he's got permission, does he even get to smile about it or laugh at his friend for being wrong.
It's good. 45 ke 9. As 11.
And when he repeats the correction, he repeats it like it's his own insight. Maybe because it was his insight, and only now does he get to own it when it's too late to own it. Or maybe he's just that empty, to the point where any vibes he's got going on are simply echoes of other people's words, disguised as something resembling his aura. Honestly, it's kind of sad now that I think about it. I'm not laughing.
Child. Etsotsi. Re tuna mfananda.
Ja, enhle so njani futhi vandag?
Oh man, he's so sad. Anyway, it's time to look cool for the camera. Well, I mean, that sequence just speaks for itself. One more thing I wanted to say about that though is how they leave the double-story shack. You've got the Smart Guy now looking away with his back turned to the rest while he faces what seems to be the opposite direction that Tsotsi was facing in the beginning. More than that, Tsotsi goes on to brush up against him as he walks down the stairs. This symbolizes the tensions that exist here in the presence of possibly clashing perspectives and clashing visions. It's like the struggle between Ahab and Elijah for the soul of the people, a twisted form of Arthur and his Merlin. Then there's Butcher following the leader, so you know they're up to no good because he would not be following otherwise. And standing at the front and then ultimately at the back like a sentry or a guard is our sheep or our horse, in that he's the boxer to Tsotsi's Napoleon, if you've read Animal Farm. Finally, he then trots out awkwardly behind them all. And it is as wretched as it is gut-wrenching to look at. So let's look at trains instead. If you have seen this movie, which is, I'm guessing, probable because it's kind of old at this point, then I still encourage you to watch it again. You will not regret that decision. If you haven't, then where have you been? Go watch it. And as always, figure it out for yourself. Bye-bye.